The streets of Chicago breathe differently in the late afternoon. The sun hangs low over Michigan Avenue, casting amber streaks across glass towers and concrete, turning ordinary moments into something almost cinematic. Shadows stretch long. The air carries the smell of roasted nuts from corner vendors, exhaust fumes, and the faint sweetness of pretzels warming under heat lamps. Jonathan Mercer stepped through the brass revolving doors of the Sterling Tower, a building so polished it looked like it belonged in a magazine spread. Everything about him spoke of precision. His charcoal suit fit like a second skin. His shoes, Italian leather, caught the light with every step. He moved through the world the way someone does when they've never had to wait for anything, steady, deliberate, untouchable. His phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, a meeting reminder. He swiped it away without breaking stride, checking his watch, a Rolex that cost more than most people's cars. He stepped off the curb, weaving through a cluster of tourists. That's when it happened. A bump. Small, quick, barely enough to register. But Jonathan felt it. His hand went to his jacket pocket. Empty. His wallet was gone. He turned and saw her. A girl, maybe 12, maybe younger. Dark hoodie pulled low over her face. She wasn't running yet, but she was moving, fast, fluid, like she'd done this before. "Hey!" His voice cut through the noise. She didn't look back. She bolted. Jonathan didn't think. He just moved. No one stole from Jonathan Mercer. Not on his street. Not in broad daylight. She was fast. She ducked around a hot dog cart, slipped between arguing pedestrians, and disappeared into the crowd like smoke. But Jonathan had played football in college. He knew how to track movement. He pushed through the sea of bodies with single-minded focus. She turned down a side street, narrower, lined with delivery trucks and dumpsters. Jonathan followed, his breath already coming harder, his chest burning. The girl glanced back once. Just once. And in that brief moment, he saw her eyes. Wide, alert, not defiant, just aware. She darted into an alley that smelled like grease and rain-soaked cardboard. Jonathan pushed harder. She leapt over wooden pallets, stumbled, caught herself. Jonathan vaulted after her, his hand scraping brick, pain shooting through his palm. She turned into a loading dock, slammed into a chain-link fence, squeezed through a gap. Her shoulder caught. She twisted free, but it cost her seconds. That's when she fell. Her sandal, already falling apart, finally gave out. She went down hard, palms scraping asphalt. She lay there, breathing, shoulders heaving. Jonathan rounded the corner and stopped. She was trapped. The alley ended in a brick wall, tall, windowless, impossible to climb. She turned to face him, still on the ground, her hood falling back. And that's when he really saw her. Just a child. 11, maybe 12. Her hair was a mess of tight curls, wild and unbrushed. Her face was smudged with dirt. Her jeans were torn at the knees, not fashionably, but from wear. Her sandal was held together with duct tape, and her eyes weren't the eyes of a hardened thief. They were tired, haunted, far older than they should have been. Jonathan stood 10 feet away, breathing hard. He pulled his phone from his pocket slowly. "You have any idea who you just stole from?" His voice was low, controlled, but there was an edge to it. She didn't answer. She just sat there, clutching his wallet against her chest. "I should call the cops right now." "You know that, right?" Still nothing. He took a step closer. "What were you planning to do with it? Buy yourself something nice? New shoes, maybe?" His eyes dropped to her broken sandals. She flinched. Not from fear, from something else. "You think this is a game?" he asked, louder now. "You think people like me work our whole lives so kids like you can just take whatever you want?" Her jaw trembled. She looked down, then back up at him. "I wasn't going to keep it." Her voice was barely a whisper. Raspy, worn. Jonathan stopped. What? I just needed cash. Just enough to... She stopped, swallowed hard. I didn't mean to. He stared at her, really looked, at the dirt under her nails, the scar on her forearm, the way her shoulders were squared, like she was bracing for a blow. Enough for what? He asked quieter. She looked away, down, then back at him. My mama. She's sick. The words hit him like cold water. She's real sick, the girl continued. She needs medicine. I tried asking people, but nobody stops. Nobody listens. She held the wallet out toward him. You can take it back. I'm sorry. Jonathan stepped forward and took the wallet. His fingers brushed hers. They were ice cold. He opened it. Everything was still there. She's really sick? He asked. The girl nodded. No tears, no drama, just quiet truth. Before we go deeper into this story, take a second and hit that subscribe button. Give this video a like and let us know where you're watching from. I'm curious to know how far these stories travel. Where do you live? Jonathan asked. The girl hesitated. Not far, just a few blocks. Show me. They walked in silence. The girl limped, favoring her left foot. She led him away from the gleaming towers into a part of Chicago most people only saw from highway overpasses. The buildings here were different, older, brick facades crumbling, windows patched with cardboard or covered with iron bars. Graffiti marked the walls. The sidewalks were cracked, weeds pushing through concrete. The girl stopped in front of a building that looked forgotten by time. The front steps were cracked, the railing rusted. Here, she said quietly. What's your name? She hesitated. Naomi. I'm Jonathan. The hallway inside was dim, lit by a single flickering bulb. The walls were water-stained, paint peeling. The air smelled, like mildew and old grease. Naomi stopped at a door marked 4 and unlocked it with a key on a frayed shoelace around her neck. Mama, I'm home. The apartment was small, painfully small. A single room serving as kitchen, living room, and bedroom. A hot plate sat on a plastic crate. A small refrigerator hummed loudly, its door held shut with duct tape. A mattress lay on the floor, covered with a thin blanket. And on that mattress sat a woman. Jonathan stopped breathing. She was thin, too thin. Her cheekbones jutted out sharply. Her hair was wrapped in a faded scarf. Her hands trembled, but her eyes, deep brown, filled with quiet strength, looked up when they entered. Baby, who's this? Naomi set the wallet down. Mama, this is Jonathan. I did something bad. I took his wallet, but he didn't call the police. The woman's eyes widened. She tried to sit straighter, wincing. Naomi, what? I'm sorry, Mama. I just needed money for your medicine, and nobody would help, and I didn't know what else to do. Jonathan stood in the doorway, feeling like an intruder. The woman looked at him, tears filling her eyes. I'm so sorry. I didn't know. It's okay, Jonathan heard himself say. It's not okay, the woman said firmly. What she did was wrong. I taught her better. She was trying to help you, Jonathan said softly. That's not wrong. That's desperate. The woman reached out and cupped Naomi's face. Baby, stealing is never the answer. We survive the right way. Naomi nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. Jonathan cleared his throat. Ma'am, what kind of medicine does she mean? The woman hesitated. Pride and shame warred in her expression. I have lupus, she said quietly. An autoimmune disease. The medication I need costs more than I can make in 3 months. Even with the free clinic, I can't afford it all. So I ration. Take half doses. Jonathan's jaw tightened. How long have you been sick? About 5 years. Got real bad 2 years ago. I was working as a housekeeper downtown. Good job. But when the flare-ups got worse, they let me go. Jonathan looked around the room. At the hot plate, the mattress on the floor, the absence of anything unnecessary for survival. This wasn't poverty he'd read about. This was poverty he could smell, feel, see. "What's your name?" "Cassandra. Cassandra Hayes." Jonathan reached into his wallet and pulled out all the bills. He stepped forward and held them out. "Please, get your medicine, the full dose." Cassandra stared at the money. "I can't." "Yes, you can. We don't take charity." Jonathan knelt beside the mattress. "This isn't charity. Your daughter tried to help you the only way she knew how. I'm choosing to help her help you. Not because you asked, because I want to." "Why?" Cassandra whispered. Jonathan paused. "Because I can, and because someone should." Slowly, hesitantly, she took the money. "Thank you." Jonathan stood. "How much does the full medication cost each month?" "About $1,200, but—" "I'll cover it, as long as you need it." The room went silent. "Why would you do that?" Cassandra asked. Jonathan looked at Naomi, tears streaming down her face. "Because no child should have to steal to save their mother," he said. "And no mother should have to choose between medicine and food." Over the next weeks, Jonathan showed up. He arranged for Cassandra to see one of the best rheumatologists in Chicago. He covered appointments, labs, medications. But more than that, he came by, checked in, made sure Naomi was getting to school, made sure Cassandra was eating. At first, Cassandra resisted, but Jonathan was persistent. He just kept showing up. One evening, about 3 weeks later, he arrived with groceries. Cassandra was in a second-hand wheelchair he'd arranged. "You didn't have to," she said. "I know, but I did anyway." Naomi sat on the mattress, watching quietly. "How's school?" Jonathan asked her. She shrugged. "Fine." "Just fine?" Jonathan sat on the edge of the mattress. "I used to read a lot when I was your age. Books were my way out." "Way out of what?" Naomi asked. "A house where there wasn't much peace. I grew up without my dad. My mom worked 3 jobs. I'd go to the library and read for hours, just to be somewhere else." "What changed?" "I grew up, went to college, law school, started making money, started thinking if I had enough of it, I could control everything, build walls high enough that nothing bad could get in." He paused. "Turns out, walls don't just keep bad things out. They keep good things out, too." "Are you lonely?" Naomi asked. The question hit him. "Yeah, I guess I am." Cassandra wheeled closer. "Why are you really doing this?" Jonathan looked at her. "Because you remind me of someone. My mother." He told them about his mother, how she'd raised him alone, how she'd worked 3 jobs, how she'd gotten sick when he was in college. Cancer. No. Insurance. Couldn't afford treatment. "She died the week before my graduation," he said, voice cracking. "I was so angry. At the system. At myself for not doing more. I threw myself into making money. Into building a life where I'd never feel powerless again." He looked at Naomi. "And then your daughter tried to steal my wallet to save you. And I saw my mother in you, and myself in her. I can't bring my mother back," Jonathan continued. "But maybe I can make sure yours doesn't slip away, because the world decided she wasn't worth saving." Cassandra took his hand. "Thank you for seeing us. You do matter, both of you." Before we continue, take a second and share your thoughts so far in the story below. I read every single one. The following week, Jonathan brought them to see a 2-bedroom townhouse. It had working plumbing, a real kitchen, windows that let in light. Cassandra cried, "I can't accept this." "You're renting it. I own the property. You'll pay rent when you can. If you can't, we'll figure it out." Naomi ran to him and hugged him so hard he stumbled, and something inside Jonathan's chest cracked open. They moved in 2 days later. Cassandra's health began to improve. The medication worked better with consistency. The stress lifted. She started physical therapy, started regaining strength. Naomi thrived. She had her own bedroom, a real bed, a desk. Jonathan bought her books. And Jonathan? He started coming by more often, not to check on them, because he wanted to. Dinners became a ritual. Cassandra started cooking. Simple meals, spaghetti, chicken, rice, and beans. But they tasted better than anything at five-star restaurants, because they were made with care, with gratitude, with love. One evening after dinner, Naomi asked a question. "Are you our family now?" Jonathan looked at Cassandra, who was watching him, waiting. He thought about his empty penthouse, the silence, the success that felt hollow. "If you'll have me," he said, quietly. Naomi grinned. "We'll have you?" Cassandra smiled, tears in her eyes. "Yeah, we'll have you." Months passed. Cassandra stabilized. She could walk short distances. Naomi was doing better in school. She joined the library club and debate team. And Jonathan, he was different, softer, less consumed by work. One Saturday at Millennium Park, they walked along the lakefront. Naomi ran ahead, chasing pigeons. Cassandra walked slowly beside Jonathan. "I spent years teaching Naomi we didn't need anyone, that we could survive on our own, and we did. But surviving isn't the same as living." "What's the difference?" Jonathan asked. "Living means letting people in, even when it's scary, even when you don't know if they'll stay." She paused. "You stayed." "I'm not going anywhere." They watched Naomi laugh and play like the child she'd never had the chance to be. And for the first time in years, Jonathan felt like he belonged. But belonging came with complications. A colleague at his firm noticed Jonathan leaving work early, declining evening meetings. "Who are these people to you?" Richard asked, seeing the framed photo on Jonathan's desk. Him, Cassandra, and Naomi at Navy Pier. "They're family." Richard's skepticism was clear. "Family? Yes, but not blood family. Does it matter? You've been different lately, distracted." "I'm not distracted. I'm present." "Present where?" "Because it's not here as much as it used to be." The word stung. Jonathan had pulled back from 80-hour weeks. He was still delivering, but he was no longer willing to sacrifice everything. "My numbers speak for themselves," Jonathan said. "Partnership votes are coming up. Perception matters. Getting too involved with people from different circumstances, it can complicate things." Jonathan's jaw tightened. "Different circumstances? You mean poor people? Just say it." The conversation ended, but it left a bitter taste. That evening he found Cassandra in the kitchen. "What's wrong?" she asked, reading him. He told her about his partner, thinking he was losing focus. "Are you?" she asked. "No, maybe, I don't know. I'm still doing my job. I'm just also doing this." Cassandra sat across from him. "We don't want to mess up your life." "You're not. You've made it make sense again. But some people don't understand." Jonathan told her what they thought, that he was being naive, getting taken advantage of, that people like them didn't mix. Cassandra's expression hardened. "I know what they think. I've lived in that world, where they look at you and make up their minds, where they assume you're less, lazy or scheming." Her hands trembled. "I've been cleaning rich people's hotel rooms since I was 16. I've seen how they treat staff. I know exactly what your colleagues think of me. I don't care what they think. Maybe you should. If being around us costs you your career." "Then it does," Jonathan said firmly. "I spent 20 years building a life that looked perfect on paper, and I was miserable. You're not a charity case. You're my family, and I don't walk away from family." Cassandra's eyes glistened. "You're stubborn." "I've been told. Naomi's lucky to have you. I'm the lucky one." The real test came weeks later. Naomi had a recital at school. She'd been practicing for weeks. She'd asked Jonathan to come. Of course, he'd said. The problem was, it fell on the same day as a major client presentation. One of the firm's biggest accounts. Jonathan was supposed to lead it. The client couldn't reschedule. That morning, Jonathan woke with a knot in his stomach. He thought about calling Cassandra, explaining he couldn't make it. But when he imagined Naomi's face, the disappointment, he couldn't. He called Richard. I need you to cover the presentation. Pause. That's your account. I know. But something came up. A family commitment. You mean them. You're going to lose this account. Maybe. Definitely. Barrett specifically asked for you. Jonathan thought about his mother, about all the school events she'd missed because she had to work. Then he walks, but it's my mistake to make. He hung up. Before we go deeper, I would love to hear your point of view. If you were Jonathan, standing at this exact crossroads, what would you choose? Tell me what part hit you the hardest in the story, and share your thoughts in the comments. The recital was in the school gymnasium. Jonathan slipped in just as the lights dimmed. He found Cassandra near the back. You made it, she whispered. I said I would. Her hand found his. Then Naomi took the stage in a blue thrift store dress. She began to read. I used to think family meant blood. I used to think it meant people who looked like you, or came from the same place. She paused, eyes finding Jonathan and Cassandra. But I learned that family is who shows up, who stays when things get hard, who sees you, really sees you, and decides you're worth fighting for. Jonathan's throat tightened. Family is someone who teaches you that you matter, that you don't have to carry the world alone. Family is love that chooses you, even when the world says you don't fit. She looked directly at Jonathan. Thank you for choosing us. The gymnasium erupted, but Jonathan barely heard it. All he could see was Naomi, smiling through tears. And he knew he'd made the right choice. The fallout was swift. Barrett pulled his account. Richard was furious. Senior partners questioned Jonathan's priorities. Jonathan sat through the meeting calmly. When they were done, he stood. I've given this firm 20 years. I've brought in millions. I've never missed a deadline I could win. What I'm telling you is that I have a life outside these walls, a life that matters to me. If that's a problem, then maybe this isn't the place for me anymore. He walked out. That evening, his phone rang. Barrett, the client he'd E2B, stood up. Jonathan, I owe you an apology. I heard what happened, why you missed the meeting. Jonathan said nothing. I have 3 kids, and I've missed more of their lives than I care to admit because I thought work was more important. But listening to your partner scramble, it made me realize something. What's that? That you're the kind of man I want representing me? Because you understand what really matters. The account is yours, if you want it, on your terms. Jonathan looked at Cassandra and Naomi. I want it, on my terms, which means I work hard, but I also live. That's fair. I'll call your partner in the morning. When he hung up, Naomi was grinning. You won? Jonathan smiled. We all did. Life settled into a rhythm. Not perfect, but real. One evening, about 6 months after the recital, Cassandra asked him a question on the back porch. Do you ever regret it? Choosing us? Jonathan didn't hesitate. No, never. Especially not when it's hard. The hard parts are what make it real. Cassandra smiled, but there was sadness in it. I worry we're holding you back. More what? More money? I have more than I need. More success? Success doesn't mean much when you're alone. He turned to her. Before I met you and Naomi, I had everything the world told me I should want. And I was empty. You didn't hold me back. You brought me back to life. You saved us, Jonathan. No, we saved each other. Inside, Naomi called out, Who wants hot chocolate? They exchanged a smile. About a year after they'd first met, Cassandra brought up something that had been on her mind. "I've been thinking about making this official." Jonathan looked at her. "Official? We're living together, raising Naomi together. We love each other, but legally we're nothing. Maybe we should think about getting married." Jonathan stared, then smiled. "Are you asking me to marry you, Cassandra Hayes?" She laughed nervously. "I think I am." "It's more than okay. It's everything. But I have one condition. Let me ask Naomi first. Properly." Cassandra's eyes filled with tears. "You want her permission? She's part of this too. This isn't just about us. It's about becoming a family in every sense." Later, Jonathan found Naomi in her room. "I need to talk to you about something important." Naomi looked up. "Okay. Your mom and I have been talking. We want to get married, but before I say yes, I need to know how you feel about it." Naomi's eyes went wide. "Really? Really? You're not just part of this decision. You're one of the most important parts." Naomi launched herself forward and hugged him. "Yes, yes, yes, yes," Jonathan laughed. "I'll take that as approval." She pulled back, beaming. "Are you going to be my dad?" The question hit him. "I know I can never replace your father. He was your dad, and he always will be. But if you'd let me, I'd be honored to be a father to you, in whatever way you need." Naomi's eyes filled with tears. "I barely remember him. I have pictures, and Mama tells me stories, but I don't remember what it was like to have a dad. And then you came, and you showed up for me. And I know you're not trying to replace him, but you're giving me something I never really had. A dad who's here. I'm not going anywhere. Promise." "Then yes, I want you to marry Mama. I want us to be a real family." "We already are, but this will make it official." When he went downstairs, Cassandra was waiting anxiously. "Well?" Jonathan grinned. She said yes, enthusiastically. They kept the wedding small, just a handful of people at the courthouse. Cassandra wore a simple ivory dress. Jonathan wore navy. Naomi held the rings. When the judge pronounced them married, Naomi cheered so loudly everyone turned to look. Afterward, they went to a small restaurant. They ate pasta and laughed and toasted to new beginnings. That night, tucking Naomi into bed, she said, "Dad?" Jonathan's heart swelled. "Yeah? Thank you for choosing us. Thank you for letting me." Downstairs, Cassandra was curled on the couch in her wedding dress, staring at her ring. "Mrs. Mercer," Jonathan said. She looked up. "Mr. Mercer, how does it feel?" "Surreal, like I'm going to wake up and this will all be a dream." "It's not a dream, it's real. We're real." They sat together in the quiet of their home. Outside, the world kept spinning. People kept chasing, searching for something to fill the empty spaces. But inside that house, everything was already full. A thought before we close this chapter. If Cassandra had been someone you knew, a neighbor, a colleague, a stranger on the street, would you have noticed? Would you have seen past the surface to the person fighting beneath it? Drop a comment and let me know. I'm genuinely curious. The adoption process took 3 months. Forms, background checks, home visits. Jonathan approached it meticulously. But beneath the professionalism was desperate hope. The day of the final hearing, they all dressed carefully. In the courtroom, the judge reviewed the paperwork. Finally, she looked up. "Mr. Mercer, you understand that adoption is permanent?" "I do, Your Honor." "Naomi, you want Mr. Mercer to be your legal father?" "Yes, ma'am. He already feels like my dad. I just want it to be official." The judge's stern expression softened. She stamped the final document. "By the power vested in me by the state of Illinois, I hereby grant the petition. Jonathan Mercer, you are now the legal father of Naomi Hayes Mercer. Congratulations." The courtroom erupted in applause. Naomi threw her arms around Jonathan and cried. Cassandra hugged them both. And Jonathan, the man who'd spent decades building walls around his heart, let the tears flow. "I love you, Dad," Naomi whispered. "I love you too, sweetheart. So much." Life after the adoption wasn't simple. Naomi struggled sometimes with having two fathers, one she'd never known, one who'd chosen her. Jonathan never tried to erase Marcus. He encouraged Naomi to ask questions, to learn about her birth father. "Your father loved you," Jonathan told her one evening. "He would have done anything for you. And I think, if he were here, he'd be glad you're not alone." "You really think so?" "I know so. Because that's what love does. It wants the people it cares about to be happy and safe, even after it's gone." "I think I can love you both," Naomi said quietly. "In different ways. Is that okay?" "That's more than okay. That's exactly right." Cassandra's health continued to improve, but she'd always have lupus. There were good days and bad days. Jonathan learned to read the signs, when to push, when to simply sit beside her and hold her hand. "You don't have to take care of me," she said one difficult morning. "I know I don't have to. I want to. It's not fair to you. We're past fair. We're at love. And love doesn't care about fair. It just cares." "About showing up." She smiled through her pain. "How did I get so lucky?" "I'm the lucky one. We're both lucky." "Deal." One Sunday afternoon, about a year after the adoption, they were all in the backyard. Jonathan was assembling a new grill, while Naomi helped by offering contradictory advice. Cassandra sat in a lawn chair, laughing. "No, Dad. That piece goes on the other side." "Are you sure?" "I'm positive you're holding it upside down." Jonathan flipped the manual. She was right. "Okay, smart Alec," Naomi grinned. "I'm always right." A neighbor paused at the fence. Mrs. Chen, an elderly woman. "You folks doing okay over here?" "Just fine, Mrs. Chen. Building character through grill assembly." "Looks like you're building more than that. Looks like you're building a life." After she walked on, Cassandra caught Jonathan's eye. "She's right." Jonathan looked at his wife. At Naomi, concentrated on helping him. This was his life. Not the courtroom victories or the bank account. This. "Yeah, she is." Later, after they'd eaten slightly charred but perfect burgers, Jonathan found himself alone on the back porch. He thought about the man he'd been a year and a half ago, the one who'd chased a desperate girl through Chicago, driven by anger and wounded pride. If someone had told him then that she'd change his life completely, he would have laughed. But here he was, married to a woman he loved deeply, father to a brilliant girl who'd stolen his wallet and, in doing so, stolen his heart. The back door opened. Naomi stepped out, wrapped in a blanket. "You okay, Dad?" "Yeah. Just thinking about how much life can change. How one moment can alter everything." "You mean when I took your wallet?" Jonathan smiled. "Yeah, that moment. I still feel bad about that sometimes." "Don't. That moment brought me here, to this, and I wouldn't change it for anything." "Not even to make it easier?" "Especially not to make it easier. The hard parts are what make it real." Naomi leaned her head against his shoulder. Inside, Cassandra was cleaning up, humming softly. Through the window, Jonathan could see her. She caught his eye and smiled. He smiled back, and in that moment, everything made sense. All the years of chasing success, all the loneliness, all the empty victories. It had all led him here, to this house, to this family, to this life. And it was more than enough. It was everything. This story was inspired by the countless people who slip through the cracks every day, not because they're not trying, but because the world decided they don't matter. But you know what? They do matter. Every single one of them. Every Cassandra working 3 jobs and rationing medication. Every Naomi trying to save her mother with broken sandals and desperate courage. Every person who's been told they're not enough but keeps fighting anyway. If this story moved you, if it made you think differently about the people you pass on the street or the ones struggling in silence, then hit that like button. Subscribe to Justice Tales so you don't miss more stories that matter. And most importantly, leave a comment below. Tell me your thoughts. Tell me if you've ever been a Cassandra or a Naomi or a Jonathan. Tell me if this reminded you of someone you know or someone you want to be. Because these stories, they're not just entertainment, they're mirrors, reflections of the world we live in and the people we could be if we chose compassion over indifference. If we chose to see each other as human beings worthy of dignity and love. So share this story. Tag someone who needs to hear it. Let it travel as far as it needs to go. Because somewhere out there, someone is fighting a battle we know nothing about. And maybe, just maybe, this story will remind them that they matter. That their struggle is seen. That they're not alone. Thank you for watching. Thank you for caring. And thank you for being part of this community where stories like this still matter. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, choose kindness, choose compassion, and never underestimate the power of showing up for someone who needs it. This is Justice Tales, or where every story matters, where every voice deserves to be heard, and where we remember that sometimes the most powerful thing we can do is simply see each other